Hey guys, I'm going to shoot a video here, or put together a video here of me building a wedge removing tool, and it's a tool that I use for getting the wedges off of an International or Farmall 1066. This video was shot over a long period of time, or various videos were shot over a long period of time and kind of compiled together. So as you watch this, there might be some redundant stuff in here where I kind of keep repeating myself, but just keep in mind that, again, this video was shot over a period of about probably two and a half months. So if you've ever filmed anything over a long period of time, you kind of forget what was said, what was done in previous videos, and you continue on, and you might be redundant. So just bear with it. It's kind of neat. It's built out of 1¼ inch plate steel, and I'll explain it. But here it goes, and just bear with me if I repeat myself.
Just shooting a little video here. I'm cutting off this 1¼ inch plate steel on the horizontal mill. I don't have a bandsaw big enough to cut it, or I cut it on a bandsaw. So I figured as long as I had the cut-off saw for the horizontal mill, I might as well do it on that. So it's going to get pretty noisy once I start the cut, but taking approximately 60,000 steps of cut each pass, and going at a feed rate of 3½ inches a minute. So here goes. Bring it back when we get close to the end. Okay, so we're getting down here close. I might even be able to get it on this pass. Let me see what it is. Now it looks like it's going to take another pass after this one. This should be the final pass. that was it. I'll unchuck it and get the pieces out of there, get them cleaned up, and bring you back when I start the milling process. Let me kind of show you what I've got going here. I had been shooting some video of me milling this piece of flat plate. It's 1.25 inch flat plate. What I'm doing is I've got to make a pair of these, and what they are they're kind of like a tool that goes with a international tractor to remove the wedges on the rear wheel. There's two of these, and they're kind of, one goes on one side of the wheel rim, the other one goes on the other side of the wheel rim. The wedges are torqued in there pretty tight, like 400 foot-pounds. And you got to get a huge breaker bar pull pipe on them and break the, loosen up the wedge to begin with. Then you put these wedge removing tools over on each side of the rim, and after you get one of the wedges loosened up, it'll extend out. You butt this plate up against it and beat it pretty solidly until the other wedge loosens up, and then you can pull the tire rim off of the axle. But what I was doing before the battery ran out on the camera was milling out the inside surround of the tool, let's call it. Then this will be cut out and the whole thing will be cut off. I've got to drill the holes. There are through holes on one wedge removing tool part, threaded on the other side. They're pretty long bolts, 3/4 inch fine thread on them. But anyways, that's what I was doing, and here's what I've got done so far. I've got the other one up on the mill where I have milled it out, actually taking some cuts out to relieve the areas outside where the inside isn't cut out, so that it's all one flat plane in there. But I'll bring you back when I'm farther into it. So you're probably wondering, if he's got a wedge removing tool, why does he want to build one? That wedge removing tool that you saw on the wheel, the red one, actually belongs to somebody else. I borrowed it off of a tractor implement supplier. He knew that I needed one to get the tires off of, and I didn't have one. One didn't come with the tractor when I bought it, so he let me borrow one of his. In hindsight, after I had, well, let me explain to you. When I was down to my steel supplier, buying some steel for another project,
I noticed in his drop bin that he had a piece of 1.25 inch plate steel. And I knew that it looked big enough to build the wedges out of. So I offered him 30 bucks for it, knowing that I could build the wedges if I got a piece of steel, and he took the 30 bucks. Now, in hindsight, I had never really looked on eBay, and to tell you the truth, I built these wedges and never looked on eBay until I started making this introduction to this video. And I just actually looked on eBay. I kind of probably figured that they would be somewhere around $75 to $100 on eBay. Like I said, I just looked. The cheapest one that I just found on eBay was $79 but it had the two wedges, or the two tools, but did not have the bolts with it. So that was $79. The high-end range was around $130, and all of them were anywhere between $12 and $20 shipping. So I got the drop for 30 bucks. I had to buy two 3/4 inch bolts, fine threads, grade 8. I think they cost me around, I think it was 28 or 30 bucks for the two bolts. But anyways, so I've got 58 bucks into this thing, and I can do it myself, or I was able to do it myself. I had the equipment to do it myself. So I'll bring you back, and the first video that you're going to be seeing is me cutting it on the mill. Now, I had to cut the plate, the drop, for the two wedge tools on the mill because my bandsaw isn't capable of cutting something that big. I think my bandsaw will only go from, I think it's 5.5 or 6 inches, and this drop that I got was like 8+ inches wide, so I couldn't cut it on the bandsaw, so I used a cutoff saw in the mill to do it. I'll bring you back on it. Maybe I'll throw a clip or a still photo of the drop that I got from them in before you start seeing the milling. Kind of figured I'd bring you back. This is cutting that 1.25 inch plate steel after I had machined out the circulars. What it's for is a tool that removes the wedges on the 1066 tractor, the wedges for the rear wheels. Gotta cut this last piece off. Then I'm going to make a couple of cuts on it with a cutting torch. I'll show it to you because I'm kind of impressed with this cutting torch. It's not a big tip on it, just a kind of a standard size cutting torch. I'll give you the number and everything on it, but it's cutting right through this 1.25 inch plate steel, so kind of really impressed with it. But again, I'll bring you back for that part of it too. But here's a little cutting on it. I'm taking 120,000 steps to cut every pass. The speed is around 500, and the feed rate is 3.5 inches, or yeah, 3.5 inches a minute.
What I'll do is use a rapid reverse just to bring it back. The speed on the cutter wheel is 125. I watched a YouTube video over the weekend of a guy using the same wheel as this. It's an 8-inch diameter splitting wheel, but anyways, he was using cool mist system, and I really kind of wish I had it. This oil is, this cutting oil that's in this machine is really old, smokes a lot, it's pretty stinky, kind of get a little cloud of smoke in the shop up at the roof. Really love to try that mist system. The only thing that I would be concerned about is the water getting in, mixing in with the oil in the basin for the K&T. I'm not really sure how it would do with the, understand that the water part of it would float on top of the oil, but I'm not sure if it would interfere with the, or infringe on the pump if it got mixed up. Whether when you were using the oil feed, the circulation of it might mix it up, and I'm not sure how the pump would take it or what effect it would have on the lubrication of the oil. So something I got to do a little research on. What I had done before, I cut another one. Well, I cut first of all, that plate was a larger plate. It was like 28 inches long. So originally I cut these two pieces out of the larger plate. And then after I laid it out and milled out the round part of it, I'm coming through and cutting it off. And before I had brought it up on some parallels and to get it off of the base, and somebody said to me, why don't you just split it over one of the grooves, because I had interferences with some of my bolts and stuff. I had to stop and because the bolts were going to hit the spindle, so I had to stop, get shorter bolts into it. So what I did is just chucked it right on the bed and put the splitting saw right over the top of one of the T-nut grooves, and could use shorter bolts to begin with.